Hey guys, this is Lori with LM's Crafty Creations, and I am here with another tutorial. I am working on my Craftology box project for the month of April, and I would have liked to have already had it done, but I've been working on too many other projects. So I'll be using the Julie Nutting Seeds of Kindness paper, and here's the collection. You can see that I haven't torn into it at all really yet. I mean, of course I looked through it, and the paper is really adorable. There's the back, and I haven't even created the album yet. So I did create like a prototype album that I did share on my Facebook page, so I'll show you that to show you kind of how it works. So it's got it's 7x7, and it's got this feature here, kind of like a wallet kind of waterfall feature. And so there's a waterfall there, and then this wraps around and snaps closed with magnets. You've got a pocket here. It only has 2 pages, but it fits a lot of photos. And I counted, but now I can't remember how many fit in here. I think it's like 50 or something. I don't know, it's a lot. So this is just a large belly band on this page. And then here it has mats in the pockets. I hope you can't hear that banging in the background. My daughter and my husband are building a birdhouse together, so if you do, I really apologize. On this next page, it's got this like wallet kind of feature booklet that opens up, and then it opens up that way. And then some tag pockets, and then a stacked pocket here, another photo mat there, and then this unties and it accordions out, which I guess I could go ahead and show you that. I haven't done a review of this album yet either, so it folds out one more time. There we go. So lots of room for photos, and it is a belly band, so that is a photo mat there behind that. And I will also show you how I added the ribbon closure in this video. On the back cover, it has this like envelope feature here that folds out. There's a pocket there. Oops. And then a pocket on the back cover. And that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. Of course, I have already put together my album covers and the hinges. So for the chipboard cover, 2 pieces at 7x7, and then 1 piece at 7x2 inches. And then for the binding, you're gonna need to cut your cardstock at 6.5 by 5.5. You're gonna score on the 5.5 inch side at 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and 4. That'll give you this 1/2 inch gusset right here and 2 hinges. And I wanted a little extra space on the sides because I do have those features on the covers that I showed you just now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on how to make the pages. So where is my base pages? Somewhere in here. Here they are. Okay. For the base pages, you're going to need 2 pieces cut at 6.5 by 6.5, and then you're going to need 2 pieces at 6.5 by 7.5. You're going to score on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end and fold on those score lines and burnish. And we're just going to attach that just like we do our other base pages right on top. Okay, so let's put together, we're going to put this piece that we scored down on top of the 6.5 by 6.5 inch piece to create our base page. And I like to glue mine because I think it stays better than score tape, but score tape is really good. And if you are wondering, the glue I'm using is called Art Glitter Glue. Glitter glue. I can't even speak. And I love it. It's my favorite glue. And everybody always asks me. I get it at countrycraftcreations.com, of course. There's one base page. And I've already cut and scored my other page, so I'm going to go ahead and stick that down here as well. Whoops. I do tend to make a mess with my glue. And there's our 2 pages. Okay. Alright. Now, on the first page, all it's going to be is a large belly band. So this is page 1. I'm going to, this was cut at, where are my measurements? Okay, sorry. This is cut at 7/3 by, no, my bad. 4.5 by 7.5. Score on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and fold on your score lines and burnish. And we're just going to attach it right there in the middle, and that's all there is to this page. The first page is really simple. And the first page and the last page are similar. They have the same size belly band, but the last page has like that accordion fold that I showed you. And if you want more space for photos, you can do that on this belly band as well. So it's just up to you. Okay. So there's my belly band. So we're going to flip that over, and on this side we are going to do the belly band first. So it's just a smaller belly band. So this is the one you're going to cut at 7 3/8 by 2.5. You're going to score on the 7 3/8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. Fold on your score lines and burnish. I'm just going to add my glue here on each end this time. And I'm just going to stick it in the middle, or whatever I think looks like the middle. And make sure you're sticking it all the way to the right, okay? You should have a small 1/8 of an inch gap right here, okay? There's a reason for that. Now, we're going to do our little wallet feature. So let's put it together first, and then we'll attach it to our base page. So to create this, you're going to start with a piece at, this is 4 7/8 by 6.5. Score on the 4 7/8 inch side at 1/2 inch and at 5/8 of an inch. We're going to give ourselves a little gusset. And I'm going to go ahead and fold on both of those score lines and create my little gusset. Okay, so this is what it should look like. You have a little gusset there. Okay, so that's going to be the base of the wallet. And then you're going to take this piece, which is 4 3/4 by 6.5, score on the 4 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch, fold on your score line and burnish, and then you're going to add this piece directly to the top of this one, just right here. So you have the first 1/2 inch score line and then the 5/8 of an inch score line, and you're going to stick this piece right up against that 5/8 of an inch score line. Does that make sense? It should line up perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to stick it right up against that score line and just make sure that it's all lined up together. And this is what you should have. You should still have your little gusset here. You see that? And then your page that opens this way, and then when it's attached to the base page, it will open this way as well. Okay, so let's add our final one. This one is cut at 7 inches by 4 1/4. Score on the 7-inch side at 1/2 inch. Fold on your score line and burnish. And we're going to add this just right here at the top of this one. Okay, just make sure you line it up with the other flap so everything's nice and even. You want it to look like a booklet, so that way this one flips up and then it flips open. Now we're going to add our closure. This you're going to cut at, and I'm going to round my corners. Where's my little corner rounder? Of course, it's all the way at the bottom of my bag. And then I drop it under my chair. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to round my corners on this piece. And this piece is 3 1/4 by 2 inches. Score on the 3 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch, giving yourself that little gusset again. Fold on your score lines and burnish. And this time you are going to center it as much as you can, and I just eyeball it, and you're going to stick it right up against that first score line on the back here. So I just eyeball it and then stick it down. So that other score line should be showing. So I'm going to add my glue. And then add this where I think is the middle. Just going to give it a good little burnish. Okay. So can you see? I don't know if you can even tell. There you go. So there's that score line that's still showing in my little gusset. So when you close this, you'll have a little gusset right here. And this will have a magnet on it. So now, on this flap, we're going to miter our corners. And I'm going to add this on the left-hand side of my page on the inside of the pocket. So I'm going to add glue right here on the flap. And I'm going to stick it inside here, just right up to that first score line, being careful not to go over it. And I'm going to stick it down. Okay, and there's my booklet. So my magnets are strong enough to where I can put one here, and then I can put one here, and it will keep this book closed. Or you could put one here, here, and then here as well. But This lays pretty flat, so you may not even need one right here. It's just up to you. I did put one right there on my other album. Okay, so there's that page. On page 3, we're going to do a stacked pocket and then what I call like a tag pocket flap. So on our tag pocket flap, let's do that first. You're going to cut this flap at 4 7/8 by 6 1/2. Score on the 4 7/8 inch side at 1/2 inch and at 5/8 of an inch again. So you can go ahead and miter your corners here because we're going to need to do that. And then fold on your score lines and burnish. And we can actually go ahead and attach this to the base page. So again, I'm going to add my glue right here. And I'm going to stick it in here, glue side up, and get it right up against that score line, not going over it. Okay, there's my first flap. Now for the pockets for this flap, you're going to cut 2 pieces at 4 1/4 by 4 inches. Score on the 4 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 4 inch side at 1/2 inch. Miter your corners. And of course you need 2 of these. And then fold on your score lines and burnish. For both pockets. And I'm just going to make sure these fit. Now I've turned my page around so my flap opens this way because it's easier for me to place my pockets. And they do. So your pocket opening should be right here facing this way. This is your flap if the flap is open towards you. So there's my glue, and I'm going to stick it right on the edge of this flap, lining it up with the left-hand edge. And then I'm going to put the other one right next to it. Okay. And it should all line up perfectly, which mine does for once. And I will go ahead and tell you that the booklets that go in these pockets, you're going to want to cut 2 of those at 6 inches by 4 1/4 inches. You're going to score on the 6 inch side at 3 inches, the booklets that fit in these pockets, okay? If you want to do booklets. So this opens and we need to do 2 stacked pockets. So your first stacked pocket is going to be cut at 3 inches by 7 3/8. Score on the 7 3/8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 3 inch side at 1/2 inch. Miter your corners. Fold on your score lines and burnish. Add your glue, and this is going to go at the bottom of the base page. Okay. All the way to the left. So again, you should have this tiny gap here. that little gap just makes it easier for this pocket to open and close. After you add all your pattern paper and everything, it gets bulky, so it just makes it lay a little bit flatter. Okay, so to make your other pocket for your stacked pocket, cut a piece at 3.5 inches by 7 3/8. Score again on the 7 3/8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, but this time score on the 3.5 inch side at 1 inch. Okay, so to make our stacked pocket, what we're going to do is we're going to cut up at a diagonal to that first score line, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to cut at an angle this right here. So there's that piece right there. Can you see that? That's what it will look like. So again, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to cut it at an angle, and then again I'm going to cut this at an angle, and this is what those cuts should look like. Okay, so now you're going to fold on these two score lines on the ends and burnish, and you're not going to fold on this score line. You're going to leave it just like that because it's going to fit directly into this other pocket. Okay, hope you can see that with this black paper. So I'm just going to put my glue on these ends. And I'm going to stick it in here. And burnish it down. And that's what that looks like right there. Okay? Now, we're done with this page, so flip it over. And on page 4 is that belly band with the accordion pocket. So let's set the base page aside for a minute and just work on this. So you're again going to cut this belly band at 4.5 by 7.5. Score on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. Fold on your score lines and burnish. And what I did on this one, instead of using magnets, I used this thin ribbon, which I'm going to use it again in this album. And it's just ribbon I bought at Hobby Lobby. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. It's probably satin ribbon, I think. Well, it says it's grosgrain. So what I'm going to do is I attached it to the back of this belly band right here. So how did I do that? Oh yeah, I did it with glue. So let's do that. I'm just going to put this right here and stick this down. I don't really care if it's in the middle or not. That doesn't bother me at all. If you're particular about that, you can measure. So I'm going to let that dry for a second. This glue dries really fast. And then I'm just going to cut this off. So what's going to happen, I think I also put a piece of paper over this. I need a scrap piece of paper. Why do I always have a million scraps but none when I need them? This will work. So what is this, 4.5 inches? Just going to go ahead and cut this at 4.5. I'm just going to glue this over the top just to cement that down so I can go ahead and do the rest of the flaps with you guys. And I don't have to wait for that to dry all the way. Okay, so now my ribbon is covered and I can move on. Okay, so when we have our accordion fold on, we'll just be able to tie this and keep it shut. Now, for the accordion, we're going to cut 3 pieces at 4 3/4 by 6 1/2. Yeah, score on the 4 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. Fold on your score lines and burnish for all of them. Whoops. There we go. So this is really simple. We're just going to add our first one directly onto the belly band. And it's going to go right here, directly over the top. And I cut mine too short. Why did I cut mine too short? Are they all too short? They are. Okay, my bad. So the 3 accordion pieces should actually be 5 inches by 6 1/2, okay? Are you dry yet? This stuff dries fast. I'm going to go ahead and fix mine. So I'm going to make y'all wait while I do that. Sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. What did I say? 5 inches by 6 1/2. I don't normally cut or score on camera, but since I am, is that going to be, let's cut this first. I want to tell y'all that this is my absolute favorite cutting tool. Almost did it again. 5 inches. This one's by Stampin' Up, and it's the sharpest blade that I found, and I don't have to replace this blade half as often as I had to replace my Fiskars blade, which drove me insane. So that is by Stampin' Up, and I love it. Where's my... And my scoring tool is also by Stampin' Up. So I'm just going to score. So, whoops. You're going to cut these again. Score on the 5 inch side at 1/2 inch. Okay. And now it should be correct. Let's try it again. At least it didn't glue down all the way so I could take it off. There we go. And I'm just going to line it up. So it should open like that. It shouldn't have glue on it, but I'm messy. Okay, and then the next one we're going to attach to this flap right here. So I'm going to fold and burnish. I'm going to add glue on the inside of the flap this time. And stick it right in here. So now we have 2 accordions. And then this one, I'm going to fold and burnish. And I'm going to stick it on this flap. Again, adding my glue right here. And sticking it down. Okay, there's my accordion fold. And it opens like this. Pretty cool, huh? Now, I'm going to go ahead and tie my little bow here so I can cut off the excess. And this will keep my accordion fold closed. My skinny bow. You can use seam binding, of course, or any other type of ribbon you want, which would be cute. Seam binding would be really cute. Now I'm going to take this whole piece and I'm going to add it to the back of the page that has the stacked pocket right on top. Okay. There we go. Now, make sure that stays. Kind of get in there and burnish it really well. And now we're ready to add these to our album. So I'm going to wait on that though, because I think I'm going to go ahead and add, let's do our waterfall for this side first. So here's this. For the waterfall, you're going to cut one piece at 6 1/4 by 9 inches. Score on the 9-inch side at 1/2 inch, and then at 6 7/8, and then 7 1/8, and that'll give you a 1/4 inch gusset right here. Okay. Then you're going to cut, for your waterfall, you're going to cut 5 pieces. Did I do it right this time? Yep. At 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. Score on the 4 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. And what did I say that was? 5 pieces? 3? Yep, 5 pieces. And then for your waterfall base, you're going to cut a piece at 6 7/8 by 6 1/4. Score on the 6 7/8 inch side at 1/2 inch, and again at 5/8 of an inch to give you a little gusset. We're going to fold on the 5/8 of an inch score line. We're ultimately going to fold on both score lines, but I'm going to start out with just that one, because here I'm going to go ahead and add my, right, how did I do that? And this attaches. Let me make sure I know what I'm doing before I tell you something wrong. Yeah, okay. You would think I would know how to recreate my own projects, but you know, sometimes I forget. Now, take your 4 3/4 inch pieces that are 4 3/4 inches by 6 1/4 and fold on your score lines and burnish for all of them. And we're going to add them to this base piece so that our waterfall is nice and straight. And then the base piece is going to become part of the envelope. Okay, so I'm going to take this first piece, add my glue. My glue's getting gunky. And I'm going to add it right up against, see, I have my flat folded in, and I'm going to add this piece right up against the score line. And making sure it lines up here on the bottom. You're going to add it all the way on the left-hand side, okay? So there's my first waterfall flap. And then I'm going to take the other one, add glue, and then I'm going to attach it right below the one I just did. And it should perfectly line up. Okay? So open it up. Here's the hinge. I'm going to add my other one right here, right below that hinge. for the last one that I just did. I'm going to do all 5 this way. And then we'll add our flap and add it to our base page or cover. Last one. And this last one should line up perfectly with the edge of this base. So if you close them all and flip it over, it should be perfectly lined up and not have as much glue as I have on the edge there. But you know. Okay, perfect. Now you're going to take this piece that was 9 inches by 6 1/4 that we scored, and you're going to add glue to this 1/2 inch hinge. And you're just going to add it right there on the top of that first waterfall piece, okay? And then you're going to fold on those score lines that we created to give a gusset. And I like to round my corners on these closure flaps. Okay, and then what I did is I added magnets here and here and right here to keep this closed. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold on this other score line here and attach that to my page. Okay, guys, so now we're going to take this waterfall feature and attach it to our front cover, and all I'm going to do is add glue right here, and I'm actually going to stick it. I'll show you before I stick it down. Now remember, this has this little gusset right here, so you don't want to stick glue on that little gusset. So I'm just going to stick it right there on the edge of the cover, so it'll be right like that. Whoops. Oh, lost my light. Okay. Stick this down, centering it on the front cover from top to bottom as much as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and flip mine open and just kind of burnish right there where that glue is. Okay, and now we can go ahead and add our cover pocket, and both of these pockets you can cut too. We'll measure 3 inches. I do them the same. Yeah, 3 inches by 7 7/8. Score on the 7 7/8 side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 3 inch side at 1/2 inch. Fold. I've already mitered my corners, so fold on your score lines and burnish. And then add your glue. And you're going to put it Make sure you stay away from the score line on your pocket feature here and stick it down. I cut it just a little bit short so that you could, you know, make sure you stay away from this score line here and still don't go over on your cover. Should work out perfectly. Okay, so there is our front cover. And let's go ahead and do the back cover feature. And then we'll add that pocket as well. So for the envelope, let's see. I think, okay, so this, where's my book? I gotta remember how I attached this. Okay, so this is the base piece. It measures 7 inches by 6 inches. Score on the 7-inch side at 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold on that score line and burnish. And I'm going to leave it folded back while I do attach the rest of my stuff here. Now let's see, this is the top flap, and this is, let me check that one more time, guys. Yeah, okay. So this one, we're going to go ahead, this one measures 6 inches by 6 3/8. Score on the 6-inch side at 1/2 inch, and then again at 5/8 of an inch. So you get the two score lines. Fold on both of those and burnish. I always score on the 5/8 of an inch line first, and then I do the 1/2 inch score line for my little gusset. And then I'm going to add, actually I do need to fold out this hinge right here because I'm going to attach this piece to the bottom here. And it wouldn't hurt if you mitered at least this one corner on the left hand side, because it's going to go right up against here. So add your glue. And then tuck this flap in. Bring it all the way to the edge, and it will be cut just a little bit short. So, can you see this? Here's your flap, and there's a little tiny space right here to allow this to open and not rub against the binding of your book, okay? So you're going to put this flap that we just created all the way on the left hand side of this envelope base piece, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and add the closure. So I'm going to round my corners, and let me give you the measurements for this. It is 6 3/8 by 3 1/2. Score on the 3 1/2 inch side at 1/2 inch, and again at 5/8 of an inch. We're giving it that little gusset again. I'm folding on my score lines and I'm burnishing those. And you know what, I'm not going to miter that this time because I forgot that I did leave this little gap here, so you really don't need to miter it. So you're going to again add your glue to the inside of this flap. Whoops, I'm just clumsy today. And you're going to line it up right on the right hand side of this flap. Don't go over any of your score lines. Excuse me. And there we go. So this folds here, and you'll have either 1 or 2 magnets, whatever you prefer. I think I just did 1 before, and that will close there. Now we're also going to add this little flap, and I cut this at 5 inches by 6 inches. Score on the 5-inch side at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch, and then fold and burnish again. And I'm going to add the glue to the back again, or actually the inside of the flap is what it is, not the back of the flap. I'm going to tuck this right on the right hand side of the flap. Again, not going over my score lines, and I'm going to burnish. Okay, and then we're going to add a pocket right here. So I've already cut this pocket to 3.5 inches by 7 3/8. Score on the 7 3/8 of an inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 3.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. I have already mitered my corners, so fold on your score lines and burnish. Oops. Add your glue, and this is going to go on the base, and you're going to stick it all the way to the right of this one, lining it up with the bottom. So I gave this envelope the little gussets on each flap just so that when you fill, when you mat and when you put things in this pocket, it doesn't get overstuffed and then doesn't want to close. So that should work out well. So this closes this way, this closes up, and this folds down and is magnetized, and this is going to attach to the base of your book. And this one we're actually going to attach on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue here. And I'm going to add it just slightly away from the where the spine separates the other piece. That little gusset right there of your book. I'm just going to open this up and give this a good little burnish, and turn it over and burnish it a bit. And then we'll add our pocket right here. So it's cut the same as the other pocket, 3 inches by 7 7/8. And we're going to fold and burnish just like the pocket on the front cover. Again, just test it. Does fit perfectly, because sometimes they cut wrong. Oops, I'm getting glue everywhere. And I'm just going to put this all the way to the right as far as I can go over here. Got a little extra glue coming out here. Sometimes I use too much glue, obviously. And that's it. Let's go ahead and add our pages really quick, and then I'll give you some measurements on some of the inserts that I added to my album so that you have that. So the first page, actually I always add the last page first to my hinges. Just removing my tape backing and then finding my opening here. Just going to add this onto this hinge. And make sure you don't ever go right up against the score line of your hinge. or else your page won't close as nicely as you like it to. And let's add the other one. This is a super easy, super fun project to make. It makes a great gift. And I really hope you guys like it. I had a lot of fun designing it and making it. It turned out really cute, I think. And it really does hold a lot of photos. I did test it. I took my other album and I put all kinds of photos in it and to see how many it would hold, and then I forgot to even write it down just so I could tell you guys. So that really didn't do me any good, did it? Okay, here we go. All done. You have a decent spine here. If you'll notice on this one, you can tell that this book is already full. It has no pictures in it. So it's just matting. So I only made, oops, I just bent my needle. Isn't that a bummer? I guess I've had this one for a bit too long. Sorry if you can hear my phone going off. Keeps going off in the background. Darn. Okay, need a new needle. Alright, so anyway, this, when I filled it full of pictures, of course not gluing any of them down, it was kind of doing what they call alligator mouth, and it was lifting up a little bit. So, which is fine, it still looks good, but I really don't like for my albums to do that just because it wears on this spine over time, because you know, it's just paper and chipboard. So, of course, it does cause problems. So, the spine, you can see on this album, is a little larger than this one to help prevent that. So, let's see, what was I going to give you guys? Measurements for my photo mats. So these photo mats are just 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, standard photo mats. I've been making these a lot lately, and all I do is take a sheet of 12 by 12 paper and I score it, you know, I cut it at 6 1/4 and then by 12, and then I score it at 4 1/4 and then 8 1/2, and that gives me, and then I just fold it. It gives me this little accordion booklet that I think is really cute. You can decorate this, because this area I just use for decoration because it's 4 inches. So it's not quite going to hold a 4 by 6 photo. You'd have to trim it. So I just like this to be decorated and just enjoy the paper on this one. So, because there's 1, 2, 3, 5 places for photos in these little booklets. And then I have a couple of just regular photo mats in here. Let me see. These photo mats are 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So if you want to do the ones inside the base page pockets, that's what those are. And those are the same. I gave you the measurements for the booklets. These are just 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, which I like doing those because especially now since you can print 4 by 4 photos on Shutterfly, that's convenient. These are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, so, and this flap will hold a 4 by 6. What else? Same there. These inside here I did them a little different. These are a little shorter. They're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 in this little pocket. And what else? This one I did on the accordion, I cut it a little differently so I could fit that 3 by 4 card on there. So I cut it at 11 3/4 by 6 1/4, and then I scored it at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2. So that way when you fold it, if you're just going to use this little flap for decoration, I just put this 3 by 4 card here, and then I filled this in with pattern paper and then backed a sticker on cardstock and stuck it on there, and I think it turns out really cute. Especially, I don't have an appropriate photo to place, but there's one of my daughter, and you know, you still get that the piece of the photo peeking out, which if you had, you know, a guy type photo here would be really cute. And then you could put either another 3x4 card here for decoration or a photo and some pattern paper. It would be cute there too. And so that's all I have for you guys. Oh yeah, I did do this booklet. And this is just a regular size booklet at what, 6 1/4 by 8 1/2, and then I just scored it 4 1/4 to get this, and that's it on this album. So I hope you make it. I hope you love it. I will put the walkthrough for this album and the one that I decorated with the April Craftology kit down in the comments below, so you can see both of those finished albums and get some matting ideas if you like. And thanks for watching.